What a fabulous building. What beautiful, beautiful creative art on our tables, on the walls, all around us. And you will shortly, I'm sure, see a couple of those pieces in the office of the Commissioner for Older People. They're absolutely beautiful. Congratulations to ArtsCare, paid for, by the way. The arts are a fabulous way of strengthening the voice of older people, and the ways in which people's voices, their ideas and their experience are heard, and the way that they're understood by other people. Interestingly, along with my statutory duty, as Mark said, to safeguard and promote the interests of older people, I have a statutory duty to promote positive attitudes towards older people. Now, I can't imagine any politician in their right mind appointing a Commissioner for Older People who wouldn't promote positive attitudes to ageing and older people. And I think it probably says something about the level of ageism in our society that it's necessary to put that into my statutory duties. And the unique legal powers, for those that aren't familiar with them, that I have, are set out in the Commissioner for Older People Act Northern Ireland 2011, which was passed through the Northern Ireland Assembly on a unanimous vote. There wasn't one single member of our Legislative Assembly who voted against the need for an independent champion for older people. And those of you familiar with Northern Irish politics will be aware that that's quite unusual. But it is my pleasure and my privilege to be that independent champion. And I use my legal powers and my duties to celebrate ageing and the fact that more of us are living longer and healthier lives than ever before. To recognise the diversity of older people and find out what matters most. Never mind all the noise, never mind the politics, never mind the excitement. What is it that matters most to older people? And make recommendations to government for changes to the law and practice so that the quality of life for today's and tomorrow's older people is improved. I also challenge discrimination against older people and looking now for positive movement in terms of the development of anti-age discrimination legislation through the Northern Ireland Assembly. We need to see protection for the rights of older people so that they are not able to be legally discriminated against on the grounds of age. And I promote positive attitudes to older people. And I'm going to enjoy that today because more of us are living longer and healthier lives than ever before. And that really is very, very good news indeed. There are now 228 people in Northern Ireland aged over 100, and at least 2 of them involved in the arts here and exhibiting. But by 2060, there'll be more than 10,000 people over the age of 100 living in Northern Ireland. And there are very different attitudes to the fact that we're an ageing society. There are people clearly recognising, valuing the very significant positive contribution that older people make to our society. That whatever age we are, we all hope to live longer, healthier, contented, safe, happy lives than previous generations. And there are decision makers, we've all met them, who invest their thinking, their ideas, their resources and their creativity into developing a society that involves, values and respects older people. But they understand that wisdom, experience and knowledge is regarded as a significant asset for people of all ages. And where older people are valued in all of their diversity, that we don't turn into a lump of the same people of God love them, they're old. Older people are individuals and continue to be individuals. And if they are diminished by anybody to become less than an individual or thought of as less than an individual, that is an affront to our society. We all want to age as ourselves in the way that we want to age. But there are a large number of people, and again, we've all seen it, we've all met them. Oh, we like old people, we can't really afford them. Very expensive, or they clog up an awful lot of beds in the hospital, they do. They take up an awful lot of space in health and social care, very demanding, cost a lot of money. I don't know where we're going to find the care workers. Terrible burden I've got to care for my elderly relatives as well as trying to hold down my job. There's a lot of that kind of talk, and a great deal of media coverage that talks about a tsunami of care costs. I'm very sorry, but somebody who's 80 today did not start being 80 today. They started being 80 years ago. And that, in my book, in any sector, is enough time to plan for services and support. And it's also plain wrong. It's ignorant, it's lazy, it's stereotypical, it's ageist, all those moral kind of things, but it's plain wrong. Older people make this a better, a more civilised, a more engaged and a more respectful society. And, better for you, a richer society. Older people, once you take the time to add in the contribution of informal carers, of volunteering, of taxes paid, take that into account, and across the UK, older people make a net positive financial contribution of over £40 billion a year. Now, regardless of whether you know how many noughts in a billion, that's on the plus side, and it's a lot of money. So we're better, more civilised society. Older people as individuals have rights to be treated properly and fairly. It is lazy and incompetent to stereotype older people as a single group, and we're a financially better society. So dispense with all those pessimists who receive far too much attention in my book. They are plain wrong. And I will always challenge them with the evidence about the creativity and the positive social and economic contribution that's made to society by older people. But actually that's for all of us to do, because all of us who believe in a society for people of all ages, in which the rights and interests of older people are protected, must take the time and the energy to challenge the pessimists and highlight the ways in which older people make this a richer society for everybody. We need to put older people at the heart of considerations about how services, attitudes, design and investment support every individual to age actively and creatively and in the way that meets their ideas of what they want their life to be like. And the principles of active ageing are set out through the World Health Organization, and they do reflect what older people across Northern Ireland have told me is important to them as they make the best they can of their quality of life and well-being. And really they are about maximising your health, your independence, social participation, safety and creativity. Because of course the best quality of life for older people happens when there is a focus on equality and fair treatment, when we celebrate and value contribution and we enjoy, respect and nurture diversity. The themes for my work focus on what older people have told me matters most to them. And yes, you'll hear about housing, transport, income, fuel poverty, those sorts of issues, big issues. But really older people talk to me about hope, confidence and certainty. People of all ages tell me they hope to live longer and healthier lives than previous generations were ever able to. And they tell me they want to be confident in the here and now, that they'll be treated fairly, have an adequate level of income, be treated with respect, be listened to and understood, and be safe in their communities. And then people leave a pause, and then they say, well, I'd like to be hopeful, be certain now, confident now, but I want to be absolutely certain that in the event that I become frail, vulnerable, develop dementia, experience or are potentially victims of abuse, or in any way excluded from society, that I will have the care, the support, the respect and the dignified behaviours from everybody that I deal with that will allow me to lead as fulfilled and dignified a life as I can through to my last breath. And if I can be certain in frailty, then I can be confident now and I can be hopeful for the future. If I'm not certain, then I can't be confident, and why would I be hopeful? And creativity and the arts are a vital and vibrant part of developing that hope, confidence and certainty that older people rightly demand. And all of you here will know participation in the arts can be inspirational. It can transform people's lives and their sense of themselves. It communicates and it empathises. It can reassure and it can empower. Because being creative and expressing oneself can get to the emotions. It can lift how we feel. It can share sorrow and sadness and communicate the simple reality that whatever age we are, we do have something to say. We have something to find in our souls, something to share, and we can inspire and we can be inspired. And while investing in creativity is good for its own sake, and we are a better, more engaged, more civilised society where everyone has the opportunity to participate and express their creativity through the arts, for older people there are very particular additional benefits. Community-based arts participation can bring people together, different ages and from different communities, with different experiences to create something that they value and understand together. Dance, drama and music very often have a strong physical aspect which helps people use muscles that maintain independence, strength and balance. And for people living with dementia, music can be a transformational way to engage with feelings and memories. And I've been with older people at a number of arts and creative activities, and on each occasion people have talked to me about how emotional it can be to express oneself. And the opportunity to express emotions is something which is very often denied to the frail older person. They're expected to be very grateful and feel like they ought to be. And that opportunity to release emotions is something they talk about very widely. To enjoy being absorbed in creating something and participating, and the value of learning something new or improving one's skills and sharing and being part of something. That all leads to a sense of creativity, achievement, new friendships, often peace of mind that comes from communicating emotion. Practical, enjoyable skills and fun are all things that older people tell me about when they talk about being involved in the arts and in creativity. And we must embrace the fact that we are an ageing society and recognise the fabulous achievement of longer life and take hold of the opportunities that longer life presents. Because if we're going to move towards being an age-friendly society that fully recognises and values older people, it is important to be able to participate in every single aspect of creativity in the arts, that older people can share their experiences and their ideas, not in a patronising way, which is, God love them, we'll give them something to do, we'll occupy them for a little bit of time. Arts, creativity, releasing emotions, passion, feeling, drama, learning, those aren't a passive kind of patronising kind of a thing. They're empowering and liberating, and too often we're afraid of that engagement with older people, and we need to stop being afraid and release that creativity and use it as to how we want today to look, older age to look, both now and in the future. Because when older people have the opportunity to use their skills and their experience, their talents and their ideas, they deliver powerful messages about their lives, not always comfortable, because they talk about loss and fear. They also talk about looking forward and excitement and thrills, about what matters to each individual, from their past, their present, and remember, for their future. This Arts and Older People's programme will engage older people in creativity that will help us to build a fairer and more inclusive society. It will raise individuals' self-esteem, their confidence and motivation, and have a positive impact on their lives. And policymakers, I was going to say will be able to see visual and experience emotionally what it is that older people want for today and tomorrow and the rest of their lives. Quite like to say more than that, policymakers and decision makers will have no alternative but to have put under their noses the reality of what it is older people are expressing, and will be held accountable for taking into consideration the views of what matters most to older people when designing and developing services. Because the information's out there, and pay attention to what older people say. Does it translate into action? Not always enough. By strengthening the voice of older people through the arts, you will provide more and more evidence to directly challenge ageist attitudes and pessimists who regard ageing as a burden. It isn't. It's a pleasure, a privilege, a luxury, hard fought for, hard won. Let's enjoy it, let's value it, let's treasure it, because your creativity will make Northern Ireland a better place in which to grow older for today's and for tomorrow's older people. Thank you very much.